Juliet.
Julieta. All right, Anna Carolina, can you read the next part?
Okay. Um, from not if it interfered with dinner,
Oh, sorry.
he said.
Whoa. It looks
I
like
think
there's
I
something skipped.
um
Okay. Okay. So isn't this what you'd wanted? Something unpredictable? Not if it interfered with dinner, he said. So that's kind of where it picks up. They're still in the conversation. Make sense?
okay. And not if it interfered with dinner. He said, "Nice," she said, "magnanimous and humane." "Those darn drips," he said, "have probably fallen asleep watching Friends on DVD, for which they silence their phones and disable their Blackberries." "Yes?" she said. She was speaking into the phone now. "Okay, thank you. Can you take my number just in case one of them comes in? Thank you." She left her name and number and hung up. "Is it really possible?" she said. She was dialing the next number. "Is it really possible that you care about no one but yourself? I'm trying to be helpful." "Your help isn't worth it as a good gosh darn anymore," she said.
Good. All right. So there's a couple of tricky words here. Josie, welcome back. Um, what?
Hey.
Nice. Yeah, good to have you again. Um, questions here. Magnanimous and humane. Um, she's saying that he's like really generous. Magnanimous is like kind of generous, like generously spirited. So she's mad now. So they were joking around about things before. Um, and now he's like trying to be serious, and then she's like just she's angry at him, kind of. She's just angry, really. And it's taking it out on him. Um, a drip. This is something we get from Calvin and Hobbes, actually, when he's talking about the snowflakes bringing into class. A drip is just somebody who's really boring. Um, yeah. And any other questions here? And she's still calling hospitals, trying to like, if they come into the hospital, they'll call her. Um, yeah. Yeah, she's just angry with him. And Anna Carolina just read. Amp, can you read the next part?
Okay. Oops. It's frozen.
Oh,
He didn't like to be reminded. He left the room. "Sure," she said to the phone. "I love to hold you. Is this going bad?" He called out. He was in the kitchen. He was finished the cheese and crackers, the mini Capri salad she'd made with grape tomatoes, and the figs wrapped in bacon caramelized with a homemade glaze. Now he was sitting on a bar stool, eating a saucer of the mushrooms risotto that was meant to go with the lamb, while staring at the meat on the butcher block. He had opened another bottle of wine. "Hey babe, this meat? Should we do something with this meat?" "Stick it up your ass," she said.
okay. Um, all right. So questions here. Um, caramelized. Can you repeat caramelized, Amp?
"Caramelize?"
Uh-huh. Um, yeah. So I think sounded good. Good. Any questions? Okay.
Stick it up
So
your ass.
Yeah. So she's not happy with him, clearly. Um, it's a pretty common phrase, just somebody, yeah, it's just like, I don't know, it's hard because it doesn't literally, she's not literally asking him to do anything profane with the meat, but she's kind of saying she doesn't care. And the only reason I didn't change this is because it kind of has to do with the next part. So sorry about all the buts in the next couple sections. But I feel like you guys are adults and it's a good story. So, any other questions? Okay. Josie, can you read the next part?
Okay. He stopped chewing. He looked with raising eyebrow at the two mustard-seasoned wrecks of the lamb, and thought how unpleasant it would be to insert one of their bony ribs into his butthole, but how much fun to walk out into the next room and moon her with the wreck of lamb between his cheeks. Stick it up my ass, huh? He said. You know who should stick it up? Whose asses? Up. Whose asses it should be stuck up is. Are your two friends of yours? Their asses? They should they should stick it up their asses, he said. Another hospital had no record, either, and again she left her name and number. She walked into the kitchen. "What are you muttering?"
Okay. So again, just be careful with those ed endings. He stopped.
He stopped.
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 Good. Looked.
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 You're saying look it. We want to say looked.
Looked.
Perfect. Raised.
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 Good. Thought.
Thaw.
Thought. Thought.
Thought.
Mm-hmm. Cheeks.
Cheeks.
Good. Record.
Record.
Walked.
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 Good. Okay. Again, really sorry about the profanity. I really don't think I could have changed this that much, though. Hopefully, you guys aren't too offended. Anyways, does anybody have any questions here? All right. So he's not that offended. I guess let's stop there. And Heidi, can you read the next part?
There are two racks there, one for each of their asses. She put their fingertip on his forehead. This isn't like them, she said, pushing his head back. Could you scroll up?
Yeah. Can you? Maybe it froze. Can you see it now?
I guess you only two lines.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna undo it and put it back. How about now?
Black. Okay.
Okay.
And you know, it's not like them, and you are not being helpful. She released him, and he sprang back on the stool to an upright position. I'm sorry, I'm supposed to be helpful, he said. because I thought my help was no longer worth a good gosh darn. She left the room. Wait, he said. He dropped the saucer to the counter and got off the stool. Hold on, he followed her through the dining room. Obviously, I'm not saying, will you listen to me, please? That I don't want to be helpful.
Good. Okay. Into an upright position. Upright.
An upright position.
Good. Really nicely done. Any questions here? Okay. Mustafa, welcome to class. How's it going?
Hello,
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Nice. Good to see that. So you've come in the middle towards the end of a pretty long story that we were in last class. What we have so far is a couple. The wife is making a meal. The husband is complaining about the people who are going to be coming to the meal. So there's another couple that's going to be coming, and where we are, the couple have not arrived, and it's really late, and the woman is really worried, and the man is kind of irritated at the couple, and he's also kind of drunk, and the wife is mad at him, and also really nervous about the couple. So that's kind of where we are. Hopefully you can kind of pick it up from there. Julieta, can you read the next part?
You will please turn round and listen. She stopped and turned. They just got their dates wrong, is all, he said, and tomorrow, when they call, they'll tell you how sorry they are. They had turned their phones off during the late showing of Kung Fu Panda or something. So they went to see Kung Fu Panda tonight, she said, or something like it. And they turned their phones off so they wouldn't ring during Kung Fu Panda. Or, he said, or, he put his finger up, they were standing near the bedroom doorway. There was dim light coming from the dark room, and he was suddenly irrationally afraid, as he had been as a child, that if anyone stepped inside, if she stepped inside, she would plummet to the center of the earth.
Good. Plummet.
Plummet.
And irrationally.
Irrationally.
Good. And tomorrow?
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
What did I say?
I'm not even sure. I might just have highlighted it for no reason, which is perfectly possible. Yeah, I'm not sure what you said. Tomorrow. Any other questions here? Okay. Anna Carolina, can you read the next part?
Yes. He lowered his finger. I'm sorry, he said. I don't think they went to see Kung Fu. I don't think they went to see Kung Fu Panda. You do not think, Beirut, she said. She stepped inside the bedroom. She did not plummet down, but floated across the murk into the bathroom. She waited until the door was shut before switching on the light. He sat on the kitchen floor for 30 minutes. Then he said, "Hey." He got no response. He stood and went into the bedroom. He found her in bed. She was in her pajamas.
Good.
She was propped up against the headboard, flipping through another magazine in the light coming from the lamp. on the lamp on the nightstand. What are you doing?
Nice. Okay. Really well done. Questions? Okay. What does it mean she floated across the murk and she did not plummet down? Any questions?
She walked in the through the room in the dark.
Yeah, she walked across the room in the dark. She kind of floated because you probably couldn't see her feet because it was dark. And she didn't like fall to the center of the earth, plummet. But murk is like the dark kind of. We often talk about lakes as murky if you can't see through them. But also darkness could be murky. This idea of something that you can't see through. Yeah. Any other questions?
What does murky mean?
Again, again, murk is like.
I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. It's kind of hard. It's darkness or something that you can't see through. If you're talking about darkness or something with a lake, so if a lake has a lot of stuff in it, does that make sense? So if a lake has a lot of like particles in it that you can't see through, it's a murky lake.
Okay.
Okay. And any other questions? Okay. Let's go on. And let me just put that amp. Can you read the next part?
I'm going to bed. The meat is still on the counter, he said. There's food everywhere. Are we just going to let it... I cannot see.
It froze? Gosh.
For me, I don't know. It's my connection or yours.
No, you didn't for me.
Alright, how's that?
Same.
Still the same?
Yep.
Son of a gun. Sorry. I don't know why. This is annoying. How about now?
Yeah, now it's working.
Okay.
Are we just going to let it go to waste? Aren't you worried about your friends? He asked. I'm not hungry, she said. Should you really be paging through a magazine right now? What else would you suggest I do? I don't know. Go over to their apartment, see if they are there. I need to wait here in case I get a call from the hospital or in case they show up. He sat down on the bed. He put his head in his hands. He heard the glossy toss of one magazine page after another, and then, deeper in the ears, the squishy beat of his sovereign heart.
Nice. Well done. Questions here. This is a little bit complicated. So his sobering heart, he hasn't had a drink for a little while, so he was pretty drunk before. He's sobering up now. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of like, should you really be reading through a magazine, paging through? So we often page through magazines, page through a book. It's kind of the idea that you're skimming it, you're not really reading it. And yeah, so he like suggests that you go over to the apartment. He's like, I need to stay here. Any questions here? Any other questions? All right. Let's go. Josie, can you read the next part?
Okay. Well, he said, looking up, would you like me to go over there? What are you going to do about it, big man? Man of Steel. Gonna get inside the Absolute Mobile and go fight the big danger? He stared at her. It's too bad we can't have one, she said. If I was ever abducted, what better daddy to save her? Her? Is that right? Her? I guess it would be important for you to have a boy, wouldn't it? So you could pass along all these accumulated masculinity skills, all your big man powers. He stood up from the bed. Do you want me to go over there or not? He asked. He had been to their apartment a handful of times, but tonight the lighting was much lower.
Okay, and so that part is kind of with the next paragraph. So, do you want me to go over there or not? He asked. Can you repeat asked?
Asked.
Yeah, it's a hard one. It often sounds more like he asked. So instead of having that K sound, it almost sounds just like asked.
T sound at the end?
Yeah, just a T sound instead of the KT sound.
Okay, asked.
So he asked.
Asked.
Yeah, it's just the way that we read it. It's supposed to be asked, but it's just a hard sound to make when you're reading quickly, so it often becomes asked. Accumulated.
Accumulated.
Accumulated masculinity skills. The absolute mobile. Mobile.
Absolute mobile.
Yeah, the mobile. So anything that's like something mobile, like the Batmobile, the absolute mobile, she's making fun of his drinking. Absolute would be like the vodka, absolute.
Okay.
And then, again, she's talking about her inability to have a baby. It's too bad we can't have one, she said. So she's talking about being barren. If it was ever abducted, what better daddy to save her? She's making fun of him. She's making fun of him. She's not being very nice. And she's like, her? And so it'll be a baby. It'll be a baby girl. And then she's like, I bet you'd want to have a boy, wouldn't you? Yeah, again, she's making fun of him. She's just not being very nice. And then he's asked if she wants him to go over there or not to see the friends who haven't arrived. And yeah, so what we've got is the idea of her inability to have a child is like a serious thing in the relationship that we haven't really explored, but is there, and we've seen a few times. Hopefully that makes sense. Any questions here? Okay. Let's keep going. And let's have Heidi. Can you read the next part?
Mm-hmm. He had been to their apartment a handful of times, but tonight the listening was much lower. It was a sizable apartment with a quirky floor plan and a proliferation of rooms that seemed to spool out one after another. He stopped inside the foyer and saw the first of the bedrooms pulsing with the candlelight just beyond the entrance to the kitchen. He saw a silhouette of people. There are more in the room to his right. People were coming and going from the kitchen, some louder than others. He did not recognize the man who had opened the door. Is there a party going on? He asked. Are you a neighbor? No, an old friend.
Okay. The lighting.
Mm-hmm.
Can you repeat the lighting?
Lighting.
Yeah. Gosh. Lighting. Ay. Lighting. It was a sizable apartment?
Sizable apartment.
Proliferation?
Proliferation.
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 Step.
tapped.
Good. Okay. It was a sizable apartment. It was a big apartment. Had a strange, quirky is strange floor plan. So like the blueprint was a little bit weird. There were a lot of rooms that kind of were unraveling one after another. So it was like room after room after room. It was just like a really weird apartment. Um, the foyer is like the reception area, kind of like the first kind of room in a house. Yeah, the shadows of people. Yeah, I think that's it. Questions? All right. So he's at the friend's house now. Um, let's have Julieta. Can you read the next part?
There is beer in the fridge, the man said. He closed the door and introduced himself. They shook hands, and the man disappeared. The noisy talk was crisper than it had been in the hall outside, where he had first noticed its underwater strains and thought it must be coming from some other apartment. He stayed in the foyer for a minute and then drifted down the small corridor to the kitchen. Here, too, the light was dim. Votives cast shadows against the chrome appliances and ceiling-mounted pots and pans, and the people standing in twos and threes against the black marble counter. Someone reached into the fridge. The bright, telescoping light broke the ambience, and the door, falling shut just as quickly, restored it.
Yeah. So votives cast shadows against chrome appliances. I'm actually not exactly sure what a votive is. Like a pledge is what I thought it was.
Candles.
Candles, really? Okay. Yeah. So a votive is a candle. Oh, like candles, like religious kind of candles?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, thanks. And good pronunciation of foyer. I do believe that is a French word. Someone reached
Yes.
into the fridge?
Some reached into the fridge. Reached.
Yeah, reached. Any questions here? Okay. So what's going on?
He went into this strange apartment where that is full of people, and it has a strange furniture too.
Yeah. Whose apartment is it?
A friend's apartment.
Yeah, the friends who are supposed to come over for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like there's a party there, so they're having a party.
Or something like a party.
Yeah. Um. Do. Yeah, I guess pretty much it. And then let's have Anna Carolina. Can you read the next part?
Yes. The last one of those, you jerk, someone said. The one addressed mimicked smashing the bottle on the speaker's head. There was more mimicry of hand-to-hand combat as he drifted out of the kitchen. He made his way through the rooms. He saw no one he recognized. It was hard to see in the low light, and some people in the middle of conversations had their backs to him. He did not want to go around tapping on shoulders or craning his neck
Conspicuously.
Again,
Conspicuously.
my gosh, conspicuously.
Good.
He felt self-conscious despite the anonymity afforded by the darkness. He regretted not getting a drink while he was in the kitchen, not only because it had been a while since his last drink, and drinking was helpful in these situations, but because without a drink in hand, he felt that much more out of place. What does conspicuously
Okay.
conspicuously?
Conspicuously is like not in a hidden way, so like really obviously. So if you're craning your neck, like you're clearly out of place, everybody looks at you. So it's like being very showy almost. Um, yeah, so if you walk into a mall without any clothes on, you're being pretty conspicuous. Everybody will look at you. Does that make sense? Did I lose you?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. No,
Um,
you didn't. Um, for instance, uh, could I say? Mm, could you give me a sentence, please?
yeah, so the man who walked into the mall without any clothes on was being very conspicuous. Everybody was looking at him. Or the
Mm,
spy was a really terrible spy. He was the most conspicuous spy in the world. Everybody knew what he was doing. Does that make sense?
so.
Okay, so like, yeah, conspicuous would just be really obvious. Can you repeat craning?
Craning? What does
And
craning?
it's like stretching. A crane is a type of bird with a long neck, and so he's like craning his neck. So like you're making your neck really long, so you're trying to look around and recognized.
Recognized.
Good.
Recognized.
So he feels out of place. He's like, I wish I had had another drink. I feel self-conscious, despite like the fact that nobody can really see him because of the darkness. And let's have Amp. Can you read the next part?
He ended up by the gas fireplace below the mantel and mirror. Solid blue flames licked over fake logs with bulky knots, radiating a dry and passionless heat. No smoke, no ash, just steady dull and decorous burn. He stared at it until his eyes began to hurt, letting the competing voices behind him blend into one festive, gibbering blur. When he looked up again, his eyes had hung a scream of fire between him and the world. He could see only the vaguest shapes, the crudest outlines of people and walls, and then only at his periphery. He waited for the image to dissolve, but before it did completely, a familiar voice said, "Well, look who it is."
Good. Gibbering.
Hmm?
Gibbering.
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 It's like gibberish. Like blah, blah, blah,
Okay.
not real words. It's a gibbering blur. So a scrim of fire. So he looked at the fire so long that when he looks away, he like can only see this like a veil of fire almost. So there's like just like fire in his eyes that he can't see through, even though he's not looking at the fire anymore. So he can't really see anything anymore because he was staring at the fire so long. And then before the image of fire dissolved, somebody said, "Well, look who it is." And then so I'm gonna start making these a little bit longer. Josie, can you read the next part?
Okay. He blinked to cooking his vision, which helped, but he didn't think it could be possible. "Being," he said, Lauren and I were just wondering where you could be, Bing said. We had plans, he found himself saying, early in the evening. Where is Amy? She's home, he said. He added, not feeling well. Oh no, Bing said. The flu-like, he said.
Good.
Where's Lauren? Bing turning around as if to locate Lauren. When he turned back, he spoke at a much lower register. Listen, buddy, to your left. At 10 o'clock, I'm going to pivot you, okay? Bing reached out with his spear in hand and turned him a fraction. Now she's at noon. Right over my shoulder. See her? Do you know whose that is?
Good. Let's look at register.
Register.
The lower volume, pretty much. Pivot.
Say it again.
Pivot.
Pivot.
Good. Where's Amy?
Where's Amy?
Earlier.
Earlier.
Ben.
Ben.
Helped.
Helped.
Blinked.
Blinked. Blinked.
Good. Okay, and so I'm just going to try to explain this really quickly so we can finish this. So his friend Ben, who he'd wanted to invite earlier to the dinner, but who his wife didn't want to invite, is at the party of their friends who were supposed to come to dinner. And he's talking with Ben. He kind of makes up a lie. He says that Amy, his wife, is sick. He asks where Lauren is, Ben's wife. And then he points out a pretty woman who we'll talk about later. He pivots him. He like adjusts his position, his friend's position. Okay, and let's have Heidi. Can you read the next part?
Mm-hmm. She's beautiful, body, he said. Do you have any idea who that woman is? I don't know who any of these people are, he said. Before he could study the woman any closer, he felt a hand on his arm. From the thinness of the grip, he knew it to be a woman's hand. And when he turned, he was not surprised. Hey, he said, you know, we've been looking for you. Stay right where you are, Ben, she said. I'll get you another drink. She turned from Ben and addressed him. Will you walk with me? With her hand now on the small of his back, she led him through the rooms faster than he had meandered through them on his own. What the heck's going on? He asked her. We've been looking for you all night, and you are having a gosh darn party.
Good. Meandered.
Meandered.
Good.
Meandered.
Yeah, meandered. Oh, sorry. That's my fault.
Mm-hmm.
Meandered, like that.
Meandered.
So meander is like to walk slowly, kind of walk with a relaxed pace, not rushed. So he finally, meets the girl or the woman who's supposed to come over, the woman who is pregnant, and she doesn't really say anything, and he's like, what the heck's going on? We've been looking for you all night, and you're having a party. And Julieta, can you read the next part?
Hey, you promised to wait for me. Oh, hey, you promised to wait for me now, she said to a group of people who turned to her all at once. Oh, I won't tell it without you, a man said, and someone laughed. She turned back with a smile that quickly disappeared. Hey, he said, Are you listening to me? Can you please wait? She asked, without looking at him. Where are you going? Where are we going? She returned him to the foyer. She finished what was left in her glass and placed it on the floor. Should you be drinking? It's cranberry juice, she said. Then she opened the door and they stepped out into the hallway. She waited for the door to close behind her. Who invited you to this party? She asked.
Who invited?
Who invited you to this party?
Laughed.
Laughed.
Perfect. Good. And let's go on to the next part. And let's have Anna Carolina, can you read the next part?
From who invited me?
Yep.
Who invited me? He said. No one invited me. He had dinner plans tonight. The four of us. And you stood us up. I'm sorry, she said. We did not have dinner plans. I am afraid, yes, we did, he said. We made a huge spread for you guys, and you bought some very expensive meat, and then I come here and find out you're having a big party. Now, why would we throw a big party if we had plans with you? Why wouldn't we get an invitation if you were throwing a big party? He asked. She didn't have an answer. People considered her pretty, but she had puffy cheeks and a pouty mouth that had annoyed him from the beginning, almost against his will.
Yeah, okay. That sounded good. People considered, maybe. Considered.
People considered.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, let's go on to the next part. Amp, can you read the next part?
He had wanted to like her at first, but her kind of mouth he associated with spoiled brats and her voice didn't help, nor the words she spoke. He felt sorry for that baby. Can answer that, can you? He said. Let me ask you something, she said, her mouth trembling a little. Had never looked more punitive or ugly. Why don't you pretend to like us? Why do you invite us to dinner parties when everyone knows you don't like us? Why you've been full of contempt for us from the very beginning? He was surprised by the forwardness of the question. He was tempted to argue the point. How could she know for certain that he didn't like them? Instead, he said, for Amy. She was silent. Well, you asked, he said.
Yeah. So she asks him, why he pretends to like them, and he's like, how do you even know that I don't like you? But in the end, he's like, doesn't even argue the point. He just says, for Amy. So he does it for Amy. He does it for his wife. That's why he pretends to like them. Yeah. So punitive. Can you repeat punitive or ugly?
Punitive?
Yeah, punitive. Like punitive is punishing. So like punitive action is like action to punish something. Yeah, so like her mouth looks like she's like trying to punish something, or punishing, or ugly. Yeah, and he just doesn't like her voice. He doesn't like her face. He doesn't like her. Tells her the only reason he puts up with her is because of Amy. And they continue fighting. Let's make this a little bit bigger. And let's have Josie. Can you read the next part?
Okay. This party is by invitation only, she said, and we specifically did not invite you. So you don't invite me or Amy? You oldest friends, Amy? But you invite me, my friend Ben? We met Ben at one of your dinner parties. I know how you met him, and he and Laurie have since become friends. Who wants the woman? Who wants the woman? He asked. What woman? The woman standing in front of me when I was talking to Ben. I must not be making myself very clear, she said. Okay, forget it, he said. Forget it. You don't want me here? That's fine. But I can because Amy was worried about you when you didn't show up for dinner.
Nice. It sounded good. Um, so it's not especially clear. So he's mad that they invited Ben to the parties. She's like, I know how you met him. Then they're friends. Yeah, and then he asks about the woman who Ben was showing him, and she's like, what woman? And then she's like trying to kick him out again. So that's kind of the discussion that they're having. Heidi, can you read the next part?
Mhm. So what am I supposed to say to her when I go home, knowing that you couldn't come to our dinner party because you have a big party going on yourself, and that you specifically didn't invite her? She stared at him. Her arms were folded and her head was a little cocked, as if they were having a lovers' quarrel. But her face was suddenly calm and expressionless. You want to know what I think of you? She asked. He was having a hard time reading her face. I was now so blank and flat and calm. He had no idea what she was thinking. It was as if she were a different person.
Specifically,
Specifically,
cocked.
cocked.
Cocked. Yeah, cocked.
Cocked.
So like tilted to the side. And yeah, she's like, what am I gonna say to Amy? What am I gonna say to my wife? She just looks at him, just calm and expressionless. And you can't read what she's thinking. Oh, hold on. And Julieta, can you read the next part?
I think Amy made a terrible mistake marrying you, she said. I tried to tell her that, but I couldn't do it the way I should have. Amy and I have nothing, absolutely nothing in common anymore. And I'm sorry, but I blame you for that, because it's so awful to have to see you and talk about you, and to think that she's going to be alone with you for the rest of her life just breaks my heart. He began to walk away. He stopped and turned back. You are barbarians, he said. You and Scott both. He resumed walking. Don't come here again, she cried after him. Don't call either. Not tonight and not tomorrow. I can't wait to go home and tell Amy she is going to love this.
Yeah, and actually read that next line.
I wish I could say I cared, she said.
Yeah, eesh. Barbarians.
Barbarians.
Yeah, so definitely kind of intense. No, hold on. Any questions about that? Quickly? Okay. And let's have Anna Carolina, can you read the next part?
Yes. He took a taxi home. In the back seat, he played the conversation again and again with such intensity that he began to shake his head and grit his teeth. He couldn't believe the things she had said to him. They were outrageous, offensive, and final. He hardly saw anything out the car window, but he could vividly picture her mouth, and then the blank expression that had preceded her outburst, which worked him up even more. When he stepped out of the cab, his anger had lessened through too much concentration on it. He wanted it to take hold of him again with its strangling grip, so he thought of the kitchen, every dish in the sink, the meat aging ruinously on the butcher block. He couldn't wait to see it again.
Ruinously. Ruinously.
Hold on. Ruinously.
On the
Ruinously. Thank you.
butcher block.
Butcher block.
Uh-huh. Good. Okay, so the meat that they hadn't cooked is just going bad. Yeah. He's angry, but he was so focused on his anger, he like kind of lost some of it. The thought of the kitchen made him angry again. Let's read the next paragraph, Amp.
He walked through the front door and called out to her. He went through the apartment to the bedroom. The bed was unmade in that corner where she had lain flipping through her magazine, and the magazine itself was on the bed. He looked in the bathroom before leaving the bedroom and walking back through the apartment, this time turning on all the overhead lights. On his way to the kitchen, he stopped at the closet and took an accounting of the coats. Then he hurried on to the kitchen, where everything was as it had been a few hours earlier. It was that future self he had many times foretold, but always dismissed as an impossibility. It was dizzying. He had to steady himself on the counter. He wanted nothing more than to tell her everything about the evening now. What cruel fun! What meager compensation! Her wedding ring and the one with the diamond remained on the counter, where she had left them before she started cooking.
Okay, good. The duvet.
Duvet.
Yeah. A type of furniture. Duvet, it's like a blanket, isn't it? I don't even know. Yeah, I think it's a blanket. Hold on.
It's like a comforter, I think.
Yeah, it's like a comforter. Yeah, that's what I thought. Good. And let's go. And let's have, I think we're with Josie. Can you read the next part?
Okay. When he returned to the bedroom, he found her on the far side of the bed, with her back to him. His relief was immense. He crossed the room, and saw in the light coming in through the blinds that her eyes were open. She didn't look at him, though she must have known he was there. He leaned against the wall. She continued to blink in a distant and lonely way. "They were home," he said. He let that sink in. They were home the whole time. She closed her eyes. He prepared what he was going to say next. He wanted to go back now and start at the beginning, at the first sounds of the party he had picked up in the hallway. With an economical and unsentimental gesture, she wiped a tear away before resettling her hand on her leg. He wasn't expecting her to cry. He thought about how worried she had been. He thought about how much pride she took. Oh, I lost.
Sorry.
He thought about how worried she had been. He thought about how much pride she took in her cooking, and how much effort she had made for them.
Good. He returned.
He returned.
His relief.
His relief.
Yeah, he's relieved here. He was worried that she had left. He checked the kitchen. He checked the closet to count the coats to make sure that she hadn't taken a coat and left. So that's why he's relieved at seeing her there. Known.
known,
Yeah, known. And he leaned.
he leaned,
Wiped.
wiped,
Resettling.
resettling.
Good. And good. So he really wanted to say what happened. He wanted to tell her they were home. They're home the whole time, and he like planned what he's doing. She wipes away a tear. And Heidi, can you read the next paragraph?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He thought. What?
So he lay.
Hmm?
Can you see it?
No.
How about now?
Black.
Still nothing?
No. Nothing.
Anything now?
No.
Anything else? Still black?
Black.
Son of a bitch. Sorry. Any luck?
Nothing.
Come on, really? This is so frustrating. We're like at the end of the story. Still nothing? Gosh. All right. Well, hopefully you guys can listen. I'm just gonna read the rest of the story because we're almost
I
done.
can see.
Yeah, he lay down. Lay down.
Okay, perfect.
Really? Oh, okay.
All right. So I guess we're gonna read with Anna Carolina. Can you read that next
Okay,
paragraph?
that's it.
Oh,
Why?
nice, Heidi. Go ahead, Heidi.
He lay down beside her on the bed. They were sleeping, he said. I had to bath them so many times just to wake them up. And she was so sorry. She said to me so many times how sorry she was. She got out of bed and went into the other room. He was holding her 1 minute, and the next he felt the enormity of the empty bed. He called out to her. She didn't respond. He called out to her a second time. He thought about getting up and going to her, but that was usually no longer helpful. He heard her rummaging through the closet. When she came back in, she switched on the overhead light just as he happened to be staring at it. His eyes burned and turned away. The next thing he knew, he had placed a roller bag on the bed and was unzipping it.
Yeah, so she's like packing up, and he lied to her in order to like make it easier for her, like make her not feel as bad about it. Even though he was planning on making her feel bad about it, he changed his mind. And Julieta, can you read the end? Just read through this last bit.
What are you doing? He asked. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. It was a totally predictable thing to do, to pack a bag, and yet completely outrageous. It was both dramatic and futile. Where did she plan to go? You are being ridiculous, he said. Please stop. What does this have to do with me? She slowed down. She moved a few more things into the bag, and then, with a gesture that was full of rage and yet half-hearted, she threw in a pair of socks. She seemed to recognize that what she was doing was preposterous, though nothing else appropriate or imaginable had come to her. She stood still in front of the bag. He got off the bed and took her in his arms. "She just forgot," he said. "That's all. You know her." She began to sob. She heaved into his
Heaved.
shoulder. She heaved into his shoulder as he held her. Hot tears came through his shirt. "Why do I have this life?" she asked. Her arms dropped to her side and she went limp. She cried as if he were not holding her, as if he were not in the room with her, as if he were not in the world at all.
Yeah, and that's the end. Really intense. Hopefully you guys kind of understood the story. If not, I'm gonna save this file for you. And I'll send it to you guys after class, each one. Yeah, so I'll just send it individually to you guys after class. Thanks for coming in, and hopefully you enjoyed it. Yeah, we are out of time though. And hopefully have a really good day, and hopefully I'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Yes.